Okay, hello everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Azlan Jais, and I'm your MC for today. It is my pleasure to welcome you here this afternoon. I would like to thank you for joining us today for this event, Contact Talk 2021. This Contact Talk 2021 is for a session with construction claims and ADR conference talk, which aim to discuss the impact of rapid technological development on construction claims and dispute resolution. This is an exciting event. That's why we have an exciting construction entrepreneur, Mr. Oliver Roche, to launch and open this event. Oliver holds multiple profiles. He is the chairman of Eurochamp Malaysia and the co-founder and managing partner of Proficient Software Solutions in Berhad. Without further ado, let's welcome Oliver.
Thank you very much, Aslan, for the very kind introduction. And hi, everyone, and welcome to Contact Talk 2021. We really do have an exciting lineup of speakers today with the Honorable Tan Sri Datuk Seri Panglima David Wong Dakwa, who is the retired Chief Justice of Sabah and Sarawak, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing from Tan Sri after the official launch. Following this, we have Architect Anthony Lee T moderating a panel discussion with Surveyor Nazrul Farik and I, where we will discuss and focus on unconventional return on investment for construction technology. Then Stephen Chi Boon Chung will moderate a discussion with Teo Poo Mun and Nick Sunderland to debate the power of document automation in construction disputes. Finally, we have closing remarks from Oliver Wee Heng Chin, who is Deputy President of the Master Builders Association of Malaysia. I think everybody would agree that with the onslaught of the pandemic, all industries have put a major focus on going digital. The construction industry is obviously no exception to that. And I think everybody would also agree that it's high time for this to become a reality in our industry. It's great to see Malaysian construction technology companies presenting their wares today to show how they intend to positively change our industry, which I think everybody would also agree is ripe for change. Next week, the L2 Icon and Legal Plus teams are collaborating for the hosting of a construction claims and ADR conference, which promises to be very informative with an amazing lineup of speakers, and I very much look forward to seeing that. Maybe all these claims consultants and lawyers wouldn't be so busy. And if some of the technology solutions being presented here today were more widely implemented in our industry, I guess that is the $1 million question that maybe we'll try to answer today. So I would just like to say thank you for joining today. And I hope you enjoy today's discussions, and please ask as many questions as you can so that we can have as interactive a discussion as possible. With that being said, I would like to declare Contact 2021 open. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Oliver. I know you are the speaker as well, so don't go away. We also want to listen to you, yeah? Next, we welcome our keynote speaker, Tan Sri Datuk Sri Panglima David Wong Dakwa, who is the retired Chief Judge of Sabah and Sarawak. To those who do not know, Tan Sri David Wong, he is very passionate about embracing technology and digitalization. So let's welcome Tan Sri David Wong now.
Thank you, Aslan, and good afternoon to everybody. Firstly, thank the organizer for having me to this Comtech conference. To say the least, it has been a challenging year for us all, seeing just how the pandemic has taken hold of our lives and jolted our economy. And adapting to new realities in a way we live and work is no more an option. What makes me optimistic despite the difficulties and the challenges is that people are capable not only to adapt, but to thrive on change. Just look how much progress we have had in the span of a year on tools that enable remote collaboration. It has been just amazing. The clearest example, which is close to my heart, is that of online court proceedings, something which was previously perceived as an impossible. And so we see the pandemic has pushed all types of sectors to find ways to effectively operate online, with equal doses of opportunity and setbacks. And construction is no exception. Being regarded as relatively conservative, making change happen effectively in the construction industry is definitely one of the toughest challenges. Just like any other arena, the construction industry keeps evolving. But we have to accept the reality that the future of the world is technology. And any industry that refuses to adapt to technological advancement will find it hard to compete and sustain in the world of the Industrial Revolution 4.0. In so realizing, we see the National Construction 4.0 Strategic Plan 2021-2025 emphasize on integrated technologies as one of the 4 enablers that will drive its implementation towards achieving digital revolution in the Malaysian construction landscape, of which 12 disruptive technologies are targeted to be adopted in the 5 years term. They are building information modeling, BIM, prefabrication and modular construction, autonomous construction, augmented reality and virtualization, cloud and real-time collaboration, 3D scanning and photogrammetry, big data and predictive analysis, Internet of Things, 3D printing and additive manufacturing, advanced building materials, blockchain, and artificial intelligence. Interestingly, however, even before COVID-19 struck us, KPMG International 2016 Global Construction Survey found that construction industry is slow to adopt new technology. In assessing the rate at which owners and contractors were adopting technology, it found that only 5% were cutting-edge visionaries, with 69% as either followers or behind the curve. KPMG 2017 survey similarly demonstrate that the industry is yet to fully harness the power of technology, when 57% of the respondents consider themselves to be followers or behind the curve. This study is consistent with the study in developed countries, which reported that although 93% of the construction industry players agree that digitization would soon affect every process, yet only 6% of the construction companies make full use of the digital planning tools. In Malaysia, the level of BIM adoption stands at 17% as compared to 71% in the US, 38% in the UK, and 65% in Singapore. And why is that so? Apart from costs and a lack of existing use cases, a mindset shift among construction practitioners remains the biggest challenges. The human factor in terms of acceptance and technology, lack of knowledge, and individual hesitance are among the identified barriers in the implementation of technologies behind the Industry 4.0 in the Malaysian construction industry. Despite all this, the benefits associated with the adoption and implementation of technologies are manifold, saving costs and time, improving quality and safety, and improving image of industry. And perhaps it is worth mentioning that a proper use of technology and digitization could present an opportunity to reduce the embedded carbon footprint in construction activities, which accounts for almost 1/3 of global energy consumption, making it responsible for 38% of the world global CO2 emissions. So what is a better option than having a safe planet for us and our children? From the business perspective, measuring the return on investment, the ROI, is critical. This aspect is what we will be exposed to at the first session today. In a study analyzing the BIM and ROI for 10 projects, variations was found that it is inaccurate to define a specific range for MOI and BIM. However, average BIM ROI for the projects under study was 634%, which clearly depicts its potential economic benefits. In another study examining the effect of BIM technology on reducing or avoiding construction claims, it was found that BIM technology has a better effect on reducing claims in complicated large projects. This study also found that utilizing BIM technology in construction projects will have a high effect on reducing certain construction claims causes like errors in design, drawings, and variation in quantities. If you look at the statistic issued by the Malaysian judiciary, there was an increase in registration of construction cases from 1,217 in 2017 to 1,324 in 2018 and 1,510 in 2019. And the causes of the claims are manifold. Delays in work, variation in quantities, errors in design drawings and plans, different site conditions, unexpected increase in material prices, payment delays, force majeure, to name a few. But the employment of technologies on project sites is reported to likely result in, among others, the reduction of project delays and related claims. We know that in court, documents play a major role in proving a claim. Effective document management is therefore critical, not only to the success of construction projects, but also to making claims, if any. Moving from pen and paper to paperless digital environment, having a unified central repository for all project documents and contracts becomes necessary. We hope to learn this aspect of document automation in the second session. There are legal issues related to this, data ownership and associate proprietary issues and risk sharing. This must be addressed upfront in the contracts documents. Before I conclude, may I share with you the valuable experience of the courts in Sabah and Sarawak on embracing technology and IT. Whenever I talk about IT, the notion of survival comes to my mind. Why survival? From my perspective, in this Industrial Revolution 4.0, we must embrace IT for us to survive in this borderless world. Not to embrace it is no more an option. It is with this mindset that the courts of Sabah and Sarawak has been able to adopt on this new normal with ease. The East Malaysian courts prior to the pandemic has been conducting virtual hearings. Hence, the present modus operandi of virtual hearings is nothing novel. With the aim of staying ahead of the curve, the High Court of Sabah and Sarawak had on 19th of February 2020 adopted the use of artificial intelligence to enhance the concept of access to justice. AI program is now being used as a tool by the courts in sentencing in criminal cases. Presently, it is being used for two offenses. Section 12 of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952, it relates to drug offenses, and the second offense is a section 376 of the Penal Code relating to rape. Relevant data of the accused like age, gender, weight of drugs, and his record of repeated offense are key into the AI machine to allow it to make a recommendation of the appropriate sentence to be meted out by the court. This recommendation remains as a recommendation as the final decision of the court remains solely with the magistrate or the sessions court. In the civil court, an AI program is presently being developed to predict what would damages which the court would award in motor vehicle accident cases. These predictive damages again remain as recommendation to the judge, who will be the ultimate decision maker. That said, it is my view that this AI program will be an invaluable tool for parties to negotiate an out-of-court settlement. The advantages are simply this: they are time-saving, cost-saving, and most important, stress-saving when there's no necessity for a long court trial. It is my prediction that AI technology will have a part to play in resolving construction disputes in the not too distant future. Construction disputes are mostly technical facts-centric, requiring no human intervention or emotion. How bridges, buildings, tunnels, and roads are designed and constructed are substantially premised on technical inputs. That being the case, construction disputes are perfect fits to be resolved by an AI machine, which make predictive rulings premised on data fed into it. Finally, I wish to make a note that although the value of construction work done on 2000 contracted by 19.4% to Malaysian ringgit 117.9 billion as compared to ringgit Malaysia 146.4 billion in 2019, and the same has declined negative 10.5%, amounting to Malaysian ringgit 31.4 billion for the first quarter 2021 due to the pandemic. We hope that the current situation opens the possibility to transform the construction technology and digitization shy stakeholders into the kind of technological and digital advocates that could facilitate an industry revolution in years to come. Construction technologies is indeed an investment, and the pandemic has taught us precious lesson that we need investment in new ways of doing things. Well, surely some costs have to be incurred to realize the benefits. But my advice is to make sure that the numbers on both sides of the ledger are correct, and then you can make the best decision. With that, I wish all of you a successful and fulfilling session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Tan Sri David Wong. A very insightful speech. I'm sure our audience are benefited from his wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now beginning our first session. It is moderated by architect Anthony Lee Tee, who needs no introduction, but it is my honor to mention his impressive profile. Anthony is an experienced architect. Besides that, he is the Group Chief Operating Officer of Bina Puri Holdings Berhad, and he is also the Director of Architect Centres Nur Berhad. Together with him, we have Survey Nazrul Farid, the Principal Business Expert of Gordon Company Limited, and Oliver Roche, who we already know from earlier opening. He is the Chairman of Euroshare Malaysia and co-founder and managing partner of Proficient Software Solutions Nur Berhad. I now pass the stage to our moderator, Architect Anthony, for the first session with the topic of unconventional return on investment for construction.
Thank you, Aslan, for that introduction. Compared to almost every other industry in the world, telecommunications, manufacturing, transportations, or even placing order for online musangking, it's a fact our construction industry has been the slowest to transform digitally and technologically. Why is this so? Are we ready to digitally transform now? How we better manage the 3 M's, materials, machineries, and manpower? Does our ecosystem support these changes? Can we delay the inevitable while we grapple with basic issues like squalid worker accommodations and site safety issues? COVID-19 has spotlighted these realities. Manpower shortage and rising material costs are now a problem at an unprecedented scale. And will COVID now become the catalyst or accelerant for digital change? Should everybody jump in or be pushed into the deep end with digital this and digital that? It is a no-brainer. With razor-thin margins in our industry, returns of investment is equated to money. And digital transformation is expensive. Most stakeholders agree with digital transformation. But the questions are, can we afford it? Can we afford not to? And can we afford it at this time? According to McKinsey research, 85% of companies fail at their digital transformation. In other words, 85% chance that companies will lose 100% of their investment. How can stakeholders avoid this? So what are these digital changes that can transform how brick and mortar could be implemented more effectively with less wastage, increased margins, and better monitoring? Allow me to introduce our session 1 speakers. They will shed light on measuring the unconventional and immeasurable ROI through digital transformation. Our first speaker, SR Nazirul Farid, is a principal business expert with the Center of Excellence for Gloden Company Limited that provides the AEC, the architect, engineering, and construction industry with integrated quantity takeoff, BIM, cost management solutions, and other host of digital construction platforms. He is currently developing a digital environment across Southeast Asia. For his session, SR Nazirul will cover benefits derived from the migration into digital construction processes. I will now welcome SR Nazirul to begin his presentation. You may begin.
All right. Thank you, Anthony. I think before I begin, I'll just like to share my screen first. Okay. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, everyone. So it's a pleasure to be here in the session to discuss on this topic. Frankly speaking, this is what the business in general needs. We need to discuss more and more about this, okay, and how we can reshape towards a structured digital transformation, and of course, in a better reaching the market. So talking about the current trends in general, merely in my personal observation, I've seen various of industry that businesses are looking to merge. Some cases they like to go for joint ventures for a certain period of time, and then we have seen structure of business are changing. Even now in pandemic, we are facing challenges in keeping up with the resources. So a couple of strategies been deployed to adopt with this challenging situation. So let's hope that this situation is getting better very, very soon. Okay, so it's a topic that I actually hope that we have more time to discuss, but in my brief presentation, I'll be touching on the benefits of the technology in general, and then what are the key investment areas in the technology, then how we measure the potential costs and the benefits. And finally, our roles on how we in the Gloden help the industry players. So same like how we make same like how we buy a car. Okay, it's expensive, but we learn to manage it. So you'll be thinking of what kind of car you want to buy, how much is the maintenance, the deliverables, and how much you need to commit in a certain period of time. So that's the same logic that we want to invest in the technology. So the pandemic act as the catalyst in transforming the business to be more digital. So due to this, the importance of digital technology is getting popular. Okay, therefore, many companies have started to heavily invest to adjust to the new future. But the questions I like us to think is not really how much that we need to invest, but how have a deep thought of a questions whether we can afford, whether we can afford not to invest in the technology. So the market has now become more competitive. So we have to ask ourselves on how we can react to this. So these are the investment areas that that I like to explain a little bit. Okay, so the investment areas, of course, we need to know where the monies will go to. Okay, so we need to know where it will be spent. Okay, so the first area that I like to touch on is the standards development. So this is a very important part. Okay, we need to create the standards and a universal reference at all levels to promote the collaborations and transformation processes. So this part requires the collective effort from leaders of the company to spend their time and the effort. If required, external consultant may be involved because it needs to give guidance and help in the early process of the implementation process. So see the transformation and the implementation progress from time to time with the enforced monitoring. And the standardization will demonstrate the commitments towards the service and the product quality to the stakeholders and the customer. So just now when I mentioned about the external parties, don't get confused. It's just like a consulting fees to the organizations that like to have this kind of intention. Okay. Secondly is, of course, the people. This is a very important element. You need to bring in the new talents with an open mindset. Okay. For existing employees, identify the numbers that involve with a certain technology for them to attend, for example, a training. Okay. And then, of course, the infrastructure. Okay. If you talk about BIM, if we can afford to change all the hardware, the computers, then it's fine. But perhaps, for early adoption, you may want to upgrade a certain hardware, all right? You don't want to change everything. So you need to be smart and how you want to spend in a certain period of time and how you want to adopt it in scale and so on. Okay. And then for site control and the monitoring, that as well, you need to consider on how you want to set up the infrastructure at the site. Includes the monitoring station, sensors or devices and so on. So then, of course, the technology investment, which consists of the hardware and the software itself. So these are the 4 investment areas that we need to look at. But I'd like to touch a bit on this adoption. I think we can do better. Like maybe the financial team, maybe they need to have some research on what are the certain technology that when we adopt, we could maybe to have a tax incentive, to make sure that every investment that we make, we can actually get some incentive out of it. All right. So I think this is a common culture that we have in a developed nation like in US. That's why in China, that's why they grow rapidly in terms of the technology adoption. Okay, so talking about the benefits in general, let's take a look at this as something that is very simple. Okay, I need to emphasize that we cannot see the benefit direct to a form of profit or monetary only, but rather as the overall processes and operations and the long-term impact. So there's a time when I see there's a project with various issues, in regards to the coordination works and the amount of ringgit that involved. Last time it was, there's one project that I recall there was around 300,000 ringgit. Just talk about the coordination costs, okay? So among the works that involved, such as demolition, the reworks on the structures, the mechanical and electrical works, the openings, many more. And if we look at the coordination works, I mean, individually or in a small number, it does not really give a high impact to the cost. But if you are dealing with a big scale of a project, we talk about the mega projects, okay? You're not doing a coordination works properly, integration works, between the civil and system contractor properly. All this will give a serious damage to a project financial. So we need to look into this, all right? That's why we can see, like features like a clash and the error detections are so popular among the industry practitioners, especially the contractor. And of course, for us as a leading expert in the digital cost solution, we understand the importance of having a precise quantity takeoff and accurate costing. So that brings to the point number 3, where the most of the time, project stakeholders are having disputes about what a money, a payment, all these things. Have you heard a saying that prevention is better than cure? And for us, we understand the importance of having a proper quantity reports, the documentations, information that we keep throughout the project lifecycle. So in addition to that, technologies such as BIM around the world have been, proven capable to speed up the productivity by at least 30% compared to the traditional working process. Then, as I said, the return of investment, okay, we cannot just see it in a form of profit, but as well as the social impact and environment impact. So we'll see how we can avoid and mitigate the construction risks, the environmental risks and so on. So this is especially to the public projects and the massive mega infrastructure projects that typically covers a wide geographical areas and location and various stakeholders. So as industry players, we are responsible to take care of all of this as well. And this is actually a figure that I'd just like to briefly explain. Okay, we always listen to the client's concerns when it comes to the investment to the technology. So as a digital solution provider, we're not just selling the product, but we do address a certain concerns, such as the how cubicles integrate with the existing business operation and how it maximizes the investment returns, how it contributes to the long-term financial and so on. So let's take a look at how we analyze the potential costs and benefits. Okay, so here's an important part. Okay, here's an important part. Sometimes the industry practitioners, they're unable to see the benefits because the digital solutions provider failing to address the benefits and the values to the companies. And it's not like one size fits all. I think in the keynote speaker just now also have mentioned about that the moderators have mentioned about the amount of money that have been invested. Sometimes it leads to a failure because this is something that we didn't analyze carefully in the early parts. Okay, so we need to have the indicators to ensure that we make a good investment. Okay, starting with the monetary and the non-monetary cost benefit. Okay, and then we need to identify and select it in the previous phase in every phases of the project. Okay, so one of the indicators that we have here is the benefit cost analysis. Okay, so these indicators is basically describe the relationship between the benefits and the costs associated to adoptions of construction technology in the project. So when the values are higher than 1, it means the advantages, okay, the advantages is achieved, right? And then we have a net present value for these indicators. Okay, so these indicators is used to evaluate the profitability of investment over a period of time. So in the case of, for example, like if we want to adopt a technology such as BIM, okay, the profitability is expressed as achieved saving. So the higher are the indicators values, means that it's more profitable. Okay, the more profitable is the adoptions of the construction technology or the BIM in the project. Okay, and then just now I mentioned about the economic. So the ENPV here will refer to the economic net present value. So this is more towards the public project. So if you deal with why now we have the MRT, we have the LRT. So we need to also understand a certain technology that we adopt, whether how we control a certain group of project stakeholders or the public, okay, and how a certain technology will reduce all the risks that involve, which of course we cannot see in a monetary form, right? So I hope this figure will give you the idea on how we identifying and measure the potential costs and the benefit.
Naziro,
Yes?
just a nudge for you because we're running. Just checking on time check now. That's all.
Okay, just a little bit more. Okay, so with the help of technology, we transform the business at the operation level. Okay, just actually yesterday, a good friend of mine complaining how the boss made a sudden change of strategy in terms of the profit target. So she has to recalculate everything, do the inking papers all over again. And then, the process is is very time consuming and challenging in a certain period of time. So we in Grodan, we enhance the capability of the cost and the contract professional using, from the basic technology like the optical character recognitions to the cloud and advanced AI technology embedded to our digital solution. So talking about the past 3 years, we have invested over 50 million USD. So imagine now we don't have to go to the shop, to buy food, just wait until you reach the doorstep. So same with our solution. You don't have to spend so much time, writing things down on paper, creating formula linkages and spreadsheets, So you can focus on more high value tasks, focus on the pricing strategy, value engineering, and so on. So as a risk professional, we should look more, to the solutions that can make us avoid to, any unwanted circumstances, right? So I just, sorry for taking so much time, and I just like to have a conclude on my part. Okay, I like to emphasize that we must make sure that we know why we adopt a certain technology and why we analyze the costs and the benefits, beside the awareness, to make it succeed, we also need to have a culture, right, in organization as well in the industry level to encourage a new mindset. Okay, once we adopt certain technology, of course, we need to enforce the use and then have a mechanism to monitor and control to ensure a full utilization and maximizing benefits of the technology. So, and then we make sure that you have a right partner, right, to support your short, medium, and long-term goals and objectives. I think that's all from me. I'm so sorry that I'm taking so much time. When it comes to this topic, I get very excited. Okay, and if you have any question, especially regarding our solutions, perhaps you're looking to enhance the process of your project costs, okay, do reach us and we will discuss more on how we can, be a partner and how we can help your project or your organization. Thank you so much. Over to you now, AR Anthony.
Thank you, SR Naziro, for your insightful presentation. I'm just trying to get my video to come on. Thank you. Yeah. Our next speaker is Mr. Oliver Roche. I think he was introduced briefly when he launched our event. Oliver is a QS by training, and he has extensive experience in the construction industry in the US, Qatar, Ireland, Vietnam, and Malaysia. He was the founder of Rail Project Management, or RPM, in 2013, which provided planning and scheduling solutions to the oil and gas industries. In year 2020, Oliver founded Proficient Solutions Software, an AI-powered project management software. For this session, Oliver will cover the digital solutions in project management and aspects of these tools as an immeasurable investable returns in digitization. Over to you, Mr. Oliver.
Thanks, AR Anthony, appreciate it. So I'm just going to share my screen. Right, can everybody see that? Okay, so topic of today is unconventional return on investment for technology in the construction industry. So just to tell you a little bit about Proficient. Our driver is to try and provide transparency, productivity, efficiency, and governance in the construction industry through technology adoption. And one of our slogans is it's designed by construction experts, or sorry, for construction experts by construction experts, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. Our technology partner is Microsoft. We're actually an IP co-seller with Microsoft here in Malaysia, and we're utilizing Microsoft Azure, and we're also in the process of launching a scheduling module, which is an interface with Microsoft Project Cloud. Besides that, my IT investment partner for the actual development of the product is a company called Symbiotic Technology, which is also a Malaysian company. We've been supported by MDEC through a matching grant that we received last December. And as AR Anthony had referred, the PMC partner is RPM, which is a company that I founded back in 2013. So we have a team of industry experts, myself, obviously in the construction project management field, my IT partner, Dipankar Mitra, who's the owner of Symbiotic Technologies. Falik Nasimuddin is a recent investor. He joined up with us in February of this year, and he's obviously a property development expert and brings that viewpoint for us. And then we have construction operations expert Charanjit Singh, which is also a shareholder in the business. So here's some of the challenges and one of the main reasons, and I think these have been touched on by many of the previous speakers already. The industry, continues to heavily rely on the use of emails for all aspects of projects, which to me in 2021 is really staggering. It just blows me away that we're still using email as the primary means of communication, and there's not many other alternatives in the market today. We still have many manually filled up paper forms continue to be used across the industry, and a lot of times even paper forms are not even utilized. So this leads to obvious claims and disputes, and we want to try and digitize that so that we remove that risk for all stakeholders on the project. You also have no interface between softwares being utilized besides scheduling software. There has been little evidence in relation to the successful adoption of technology in the local market. Tanshri earlier on talked about BIM, and it is being adopted somewhat, but not fully, and that's not been fully realized. And we will have in the future product development of Proficient, we are going to be adding a BIM module to the product at the end of next year. And then there's the real biggest problem, I think, is teaching the old dogs new tricks. And this is a real problem because everybody's so set in their ways about how they've been doing construction and building for the last number of decades, and that's got to change. And then finally, probably the one, and I see some questions coming in, and all of them are all talking about how much and should we invest now. I guess the challenge is trying to demonstrate some tangible ROIs on your investment. And I think if the softwares can help you not get into disputes, surely that's worthy of an investment. So just very quickly, I'm going to touch on these various softwares that are out there at the moment. You can have all of these softwares that are separate. Some you may not have invested in. Some projects may only have scheduling. Others might have some document controls, field operations. We try and bring a single solution all together under one platform. So this is the solution. It's obviously a collaborative platform, and it's project-centric in the middle. All stakeholders will be sharing the platform and sharing all information live, okay? So our clients are developers. That's where we're selling our product to, and we, or primary stakeholders. So if that was a infrastructure project, it might be a government agency, etc. But our primary clients that we pitch this product to are developers. So we want everybody, architects, engineers, project managers, contractors, all sharing the same platform. Obviously, we're going to make this digital. We, through, say, for example, in our operations module down here, you can digitize your daily construction reports by walking around the site and infilling the daily construction information on your app and then uploading it and sending it instantaneously. Also, RFIs, request for information in the field. You take a photograph of something, you can send an RFI from the field to the architect and he'll receive it instantly digitally, and he'll respond digitally. We have a cognitive search capability. So what that means, because we're using Microsoft Azure, that provides us an opportunity to actually search for documents by scanning the document. So it's not just what you tag or uploaded the document with or by. You can actually scan the document and we can find that for you as well. So I think that's a very powerful option for us to have in the product. We've dynamic and flexible workflows. I'm not going to go into that too much, but if people are interested online, we can do a demonstration and show you how that works. So you just upload the document and create the workflow on the front end when you upload that document through having a primary and secondary approver in documents, in our documents module. The product is all about tasks. So when somebody submits a shop drawing through documents, that creates a task for the, say, the architect or the other consultants to approve, and they get a notification on that. And the system tracks out the closing of those tasks so that there's accountability, not just on the contractor, but also on the consultants involved in the project. And I think that brings a very high degree of transparency, and that can't be disputed because it's stored on the cloud. As I said, that creates accountability. You can actually do performance monitoring if people are deficient in closing out their tasks. You can print out a report about an individual or a company, and they can be taken to task as to why they are not closing out their tasks. And that could be anything from answering RFIs doing your daily construction report, approving shop drawings, etc., etc. You can go on and on. Obviously, when you put all of this together, this creates a very powerful, in our opinion, very powerful risk management and risk mitigation tool for everybody to collaborate in real time. And, with that comes transparency, because obviously everybody is being held to account. Okay, we're going to be launching this next month. This is our scheduling module, which will give us a proficient traffic light / Power BI dashboard. So this is just a screenshot of what you're actually going to see on the dashboard when we launch this scheduling module next month. So you can see that it's live. So I'll just use an example. If the contractor is doing his daily construction report, he can notify the planner through our platform and through hyperlink to Microsoft Project Cloud to, let's say they poured the 5th floor of a particular building on that particular day. So when the daily construction report is uploaded, it'll automatically update the schedule, and then that automatically sends back information to the dashboard, which is, I think, really powerful. We'll also have this traffic light system where we summarize all of documents, operations. You can drop down or pick up whatever you want. Maybe you're an inspector of the works, so maybe you'll only have inspections that are related to you, and that'll be specific to you, and you can customize your own dashboard in any way you want. And you'll see here also that we've got a meetings module for the product as well. So it manages meetings, it manages schedule, it manages all field operations, and digitizes everything. So what are the benefits? It's a one-click project access. Obviously, instant site reports, so you can instantly print out how many RFIs are outstanding without having to maintain any spreadsheets. And that's unlimited through everything on the whole product. You get instant status notifications. Obviously, if you're in the field and you submit an RFI to the architect or engineer, he gets that instantly. You don't have to go back to the office and print out a document or attach, something. You do it from your phone. You can take a photograph or attach drawings from the database to send to the architect or engineers for approval. Obviously, that means faster approvals. The product sends auto reminders. We put in a default of 48 hours because we don't want the product to be abused. So if an architect, say, for example, has got a shop drawing to approve by a certain date, he'll get a reminder 48 hours before it's due, on the day it's due, and every 48 hours thereafter, and that will be date stamped into the cloud, into the product. Obviously, this brings great risk mitigation, no communication gaps, faster task closeouts, seamless collaboration. And because we developed the product here in Malaysia, it is fully customizable. And we are doing customizing for particular clients' needs. And we know that there's very difficult to have a one solution that fits all for people in our industry. So that's why we are offering customization, which I think is a big point of difference versus our competition. So intangible return on investment, I'll just go back to what the problems or challenges were at the start, emails. So we will, all communications will be stored on our one platform, which reduces and mitigates risk for all stakeholders because, stuff can't get lost because it's on the cloud and it's live. Manually filled up forms are replaced. So we digitize the whole form process. And we believe that tremendously reduces risk across for all stakeholders, not just the clients, which would be, in our instance, the developers, but also the contractors and the consultants involved on the job. We resolved the software interface. So we have one platform for the exchange of all project information, including schedule, cost, and contracts, and you can have live updates to keep all stakeholders informed. User adoption, as I mentioned, the old dog, new tricks issue earlier on, we provide a proficient implementation champion to ensure user adoption, training, user feedback to maximize the user experience and user interface for all of our people that are utilizing the product in the field. And that includes going down, meeting the guys in the field and asking them how are they doing with the actual product, okay, so that it's fully adopted. And then finally, ROI, all of the above collectively provide immeasurable risk mitigation and reduce all stakeholders' exposure to claims, arbitration, etc. And I think it does it immensely. And I guess the question is, how much is that worth? And that is the hot question. How much is it worth to not get into a dispute? And that's it. Thank you very much. Back to you, AR Anthony.
Thank you, Oliver, for your presentation and your insightful information that you have shared with us. And also thank you for Nazirul. I'm going to begin the next session, which is the panel discussion. I think in the interest of time, I am going to begin with Oliver. Now, so I just like to, I just like to go straight into the issues that I think some of our viewers have brought up. As COVID has devastated our entire industry, affecting everyone, no? Developers, contractors, subcontractors, manufacturers, and consultants, the entire, stakeholder, with unpredictability and uncertainty. Cash flow is very acute. Many are just struggling to survive, pay wages and overheads. Is this a good time? Or is there ever a good time to start this process of transformation? Under these difficult times, can we afford it? And also, a second question for you is that is this process of digitization, the one that you have presented, is it an all-in or nothing process? Is there room for a partial entry, all paperless or perhaps paperless? Oliver?
I think, I mentioned in my presentation, there's not one solution that fits all. That's just not possible. It's not possible, and there's a unlimited amount of reasons for that. It could be just that there's fear of technical, adoption. And you mentioned in your earlier remarks, Architect Anthony, about, people failing to digitize and losing money on investment. But to me, that comes down to the leadership in that individual organization. You know what I mean? It's got to start at the top. The top has to believe that this is a journey that we want to take and that we want to digitize because it is the future. It is what we need. It can't be from the bottom up. It's got to be from the top down, and I think that's one of the reasons why we developed Proficient, because, there's lots of products that are, contractor centric out there, but there's not much that was developer centric, where we want everybody to be all on one platform and try and help issues be mitigated. So, I think each particular contractor or potential client has to look at their own circumstances, but it's inevitable. I think you have to start now if you haven't done it already. Now, does that mean you invest X or Y? That's up to that individual company, in my opinion.
Thank you, Oliver. Nazirul, I just have, looking at your paper, you covered cost-benefit analysis. I think you call it BCA, related to accurate quantity takeoff and cost management solutions. Without digitization, companies hire QSs, humans like yourself, for quantification tasks. How much has this industry adopted the solutions that you have presented? And in doing so, do you have reliable data on how much in cost-benefit analysis or ROI that your clients have come to expect? Nazirul?
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. It's a good question, Sid. If we try to talk about the technology, BIM in general, okay, in our research, we found that close to 40% of the construction organization have invested or are planning to invest in BIM in 2020. So just now, I actually interested with the questions of whether now is the right time. But we need to see the adoptions by levels, okay? We cannot just adopt everything at one time. So we need to think what is the current processes that we think is suitable that we adopt at the moment, okay? And then going back to the question just now, the adoption number is actually still quite low if talking about that nearly 40%, but the market is getting more and more competitive. So I think if we talk about our own solutions, we have around around 500 clients in Malaysia only. And coming from consultants, contractors and developers, so the numbers are actually growing every year. So that's why I said that the businesses are changing and the people start to realize that advantages we can benefit from the technology. So we need to think, again, we need to think what is the current technology that is suitable for us to adopt at this moment. With now people are working from home and how we conduct this kind of monitoring and control in our business operations. So I think like Oliver Roche also mentioned just now, the answer is now, and we need to think a smart way of what we need to invest into, right? I think that's from my side.
Thank you, Naziro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oliver, back to you. I mean, you mentioned about risk mitigation, quite a bit, I mean, we are, currently now we are the program that, we have a whole bunch of lawyers and next week, I think you mentioned about giving them less work. Huh? Yeah. Through process digitization usually means proper planning, safety, timely execution, workmanship, and dispute avoidance, which is now, in our very adversarial environment, seems to be the norm. By digitizing the processes, stakeholders would maintain accurate and reliable contemporaneous documents. I mean, that's the idea. It does appear to me that the party that controls the information and processes have a contractual upper hand. And this event, likely the employer. I mean, could you articulate how process digitization could help with dispute avoidance to all stakeholders within the project?
I agree that there might be a perception that could be a risk, but I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it's a real tangible concern. And here's why. What we're trying to do is solve a problem, and that problem is a lack of adoption of technology in our industry and trying to digitize everything. If everybody on the project participates in that, the architect, the engineers, the contractor, the client, project management consultant, there's one involved, and that's all shared on a cloud where it's date stamped when something was sent and it's not up for dispute, surely that's good for everybody. You know what I mean? And that brings, it's not, and I mentioned many times in my, that tasks are being created for the architect or the engineers or the clients if so needed, you know what I mean? But the ultimate thing is that the project should be a success, So I don't think that there's a concern, or there should be a concern. I don't think it's warranted from a contractor or any stakeholder from that matter, because what we need to do is just collectively make all of our people that are involved from each company, each stakeholder to be accountable, and I think that's a larger problem, is that people, just not doing their jobs properly is what sometimes leads to claims and arbitrations, you know what I mean? So we're just trying to bring a technology solution that tries to help mitigate that and reduce risk as a result.
Yeah, Oliver, I think you've probably hit, the nail on the head there, because, to me, digitization or otherwise, the level of our education and our competency, is in question. I mean, a lot of, even with pen and paper, one can mitigate and, a lot of disputes already. So I think this is probably a larger question that perhaps is not in this current forum. But, thank you for that answer. Naziro, I just want to move on to an area that you have, which I think, people have this at the back of their mind. With COVID today, with people just struggling to get employed, AI-powered digitization replaces humans. And in doing mundane, highly accurate, precise measurements, right, as your particular solutions present, how does one justify digitization when talent rate is still quite low in Malaysia? I mean talent rate, as far as, what we pay for people. And why can't we just hire more people to do the tech job? Naziro?
So this is, I think I've mentioned about this, the AI to replace the human is always a topic in any areas, right? We actually leverage from the technology to say how the industry want to replace human, or in our cases, say engineers or the QS. Actually the situation, the chances for that to happen is very, very low, because every day we deal with various possibilities on site. We deal with the various of stakeholders. So I must say that in our case, we rather enhance, rather than to replace a human. And talking about the investment in people, I think I've touched that as well. That of course it needs to take a strategic approach. It's not that to replace everything at one time. Maybe for the newcomers, when they want to join the new company, you need to have a certain people to have a very specific skills for them to basically implement or to start in that process. make sure that the time for them to learn is very, very minimum. But for the existing the employees, it's always it's a common situation where they need to have a training over a certain period of time. Even if they say they are skilled people, right? The existing employees, they are skilled at the time. But we have to remember how fast the technology is developed. Okay, so time to time, no matter you have that kind of certificates or you don't have a certificate, throughout the times you still need to upgrade yourself. You need to be exposed and to have a proper training.
Thank you, Nazirul. Yeah. Look, I think this kind of brings, because interest of time, we have session 2 coming up. So this basically brings me, I think, to the end of session number 1. So thank you very much, SR, Nazirul, and Oliver, for your presentation insights. Yeah. So in closing this session, session number 1, I'd like to invite both of you, any final words for our listeners and audience, Nazirul and Oliver. Would you like? Oh, I think the tech. Can you guys put them back on again with the video? Yeah. Any last words for our listeners, Nazirul and Oliver?
Yeah, I'll try to make it very, very short. I think in adopting a technology, I think it's a collective effort by the industry players at all levels. Not just a big companies, that should adopt a certain technology, but at all level, especially for the government. They need to set a good examples in encouraging the adoption of the technology. To guide us, to guide the industry, either they are small or big. And not to forget the function of the academic institution to educate the new generations, give them the exposure, set the new skills and the mindset, so that when we grow, right? When we grow together. We're not just growing in industry. We need the growing to have a very sustainable growth. I mean, especially when the new generations are coming to the industry. So I think that's some bits from me.
Thank you. Oliver?
Yeah, I think the key here is for people that want to use technology in our industry to find what's right for them. I think that's really, 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 really important. I think everybody should be looking at tech in our industry and just go out there, do the research, find what's right for you, and try and adopt it and get buy-in from your internal stakeholders first and foremost. So I think that's really important. You go out there, you find what's right for you, what you believe is right for your particular company in your particular instance, and you got to give it a go. You got to give it a go, in my opinion. And I think just one very last thing, Anthony. There's the pandemic has also taught us about, or reminded us about the incredible dependence we have on foreign labor in Malaysia. You know what I mean? I think we need to just not stop this journey. We got to keep going and keep trying to find technology that solves that problem and dependence on foreign labor. So it's good to see, Malaysian companies on here that are bringing tech and trying to change things positively. And I hope that will continue for many years to come.
Thank you, Oliver. Thank you, Nazirul, for your presentations and your responses. I think in closing, I just like to add that, to do digital transformation, it's always better to do it when you can afford it, obviously, when times are better. But when times are better, we tend to forget that, look, why change, things when things are running well. If things are not running well, that's when you decide you want to digitally transform. It's a pain because you can't afford it. So I think this hopefully, the session 2 can provide more insights about where we are heading and provide more information for our listeners. I will now pass the session over to the MC, Azlan. Thank you very much. We can move on to the session number 2.
Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Anthony, and also the speakers. We will have a short break and we'll be back at 2:10 p.m.
Christy, this cannot be a variation order because this is the work under the contract.
Azlan, it is not. You said in the meeting it was a variation order. How dare you terminate the contract without paying us?
Because you were constantly in a delay.
That was because we were never given the site position on time. We should be entitled for an extension of time.
Just wait for a moment, Christy. Have you written to us a letter? No. You had never written a single letter throughout this project.
Liar!
Does it look familiar to you? Yes, it is not uncommon to find construction contracting parties often locked in disputes on issues relating to variation order, delay, extension of time, loss and expense, and so forth.
Yes, the solution to each problem would differ depending on the facts and the situation. However, it's important that you must identify the problem and the cause of the problem as early as possible and resolve it quickly so that it does not escalate to a bigger problem.
I cannot agree more. Whilst it is important to resolve every problem as soon as it arises, it's often easier said than done. A deep understanding in the field and practice of construction is crucial in this respect.
Yes, and one of the more effective ways to gaining a better understanding is through listening and learning from others who have experienced these problems and successfully resolved them. In this regard, we are proud to bring to you a top-of-the-class online 12-hour marathon construction claims and ADR conference to discuss the common issues faced by the construction stakeholders as well as the potential solutions to these problems.
Yes, at this online marathon construction claims and ADR conference, you will see a lineup of established and respectable moderators and speakers to conduct the sessions touching on almost every common construction issues.
Without further ado, let us have a quick look at the conference teaser and lineup of the moderators and speakers.
Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The first session earlier was very interesting, and now we move to the second session on the topic of power of document automation in construction dispute. This session is moderated by Mr. Steven Shi. Steven is a legal general manager with a construction company in Malaysia, and he has extensive experience in construction claims and legal dispute. Together with him in this panel are two very exciting characters. We have Mr. Nicholas Hanlon from England, who is still grieving of his country's penalty loss at the Euro 2020. And I'm sure he will redeem himself in today's event. Not only he is a football fan, he is also the CEO of CCMS Group and the founder of Construction Apps for You. And then we have Teo Pui Man, who we are very familiar with. She is the co-founder of Speedbrake Construction Management App, and she has been recently elected as the president of Lighthouse Club KL. So congratulations, Puman. Without further ado, I now pass the mic to Stephen.
Thank you, Aslan, for the kind introduction. And thank you for the organizer for having me here today. The COVID-19 pandemic accelerated the use of technology. And although many months have passed, it's still a constant reminder to us. And technology in all aspects of our life may not be an option anymore, as alluded by Tan Sri in his keynote speech just now. The shift to digital in the construction industry is gaining momentum. And it is necessary to harness digital technology to speed up processes in project delivery. One way of improving efficiency is to have document automation for an efficient record-keeping system. As in any dispute resolution process, I've always been taught, and I think it's still the case, records, records, and records. More so in the adjudication regime, where it's usually by documents only. Our speakers are very knowledgeable in their fields and will share how to keep records and avoid potential pitfalls. Document automation can help in quick search and response. The topics covered will be on practical application, like conforming verbal instructions and having trustworthy data. Now, can adoption of document automation improve record keeping in daily site activities, enhance coordination, and allow managers and supervisors to focus on operational issues? To answer that, I'll leave it to Mr. Nicholas Sunderland. He is a quantity surveyor, adjudicator, and a mediator. I will take that to invite Mr. Nicholas for his presentation.
Thank you very much, Stephen. I'll just share my screen. Okay, hopefully everybody can see the screen that I'm sharing. So I'd just like to thank, firstly, L2Icon for putting together this construction technology talk. I hope everybody finds it informative and useful, of some benefit. And I hope the people here will be signing up for next week's really exciting webinar marathon session for 12 hours. So if you haven't already, I strongly suggest that you do sign up to that. So I'm going to talk through a little bit about Construction Apps for You, why it was invented, and it's based around my experience from starting off on construction projects as a QS for a contractor, being out on site, measuring, and actually relying upon the documents which I'm now seeking for people to compile, keep the records for the events of claims, which is a field which I've been working on for the past 9 years more so. So I'll now move on to my next slide. So what we tend to find is that people always have a reason for not doing something rather than for actually doing something. So what we want to try and do and encourage is give people a tool which is easily affordable and take away the excuse from them actually not keeping the records which we need. Make people accountable, and let's see how we can improve the industry and ultimately protect the companies that we work for, whether that be a subcontractor, main contractor, employer, So we'll talk through this process. So, you know, the excuse of not having a pen at hand while being out on site isn't really a valid one. But what we'll show is that we can come up with a solution, which means that it's no longer a valid reason for not doing something. People have bad handwriting. Now, the construction industry is such a fantastic industry and affords many career opportunities for people of all abilities. And so we have to be mindful of this when providing solutions and tools. And not everybody is technologically minded. You know, not everybody has a computer. But as you see, we think we've come up with something which most people in this day and age do actually have. Paper, it gets wet. You know, people spill coffee on it. It gets wet, it gets lost, it gets misplaced. How can we remove it? We've touched upon people not being academically, you know, qualified. The people at site sometimes work their way from a trade and things like that. So again, English not being the mother tongue language, how can we facilitate and encourage them and embrace them to keep records? So we think that we've come up with a solution to that, because ultimately, if this goes before our esteemed panel next week in a dispute forum, little sympathy will be given if no party has records. So the importance of records is vitally important to the successful defense or successful award of a claim. So we can't emphasize this enough. Also, as a bigger concern is our future generations, future carbon footprint. How can we mitigate, you know, cutting down thousands of trees? When we get to disputes, arbitrations, you know, the amount of paper that's generated in terms of these is so voluminous, and ultimately, could it be streamlined into software? You know, let's use soft copies. So let's start at the beginning by producing the soft copies, cutting the paper out that then needs photocopying multiple times, and hopefully the lawyers are on board. And as Tan Sri explained about the courts doing virtual hearings, you know, there should be no reason why a screen can't be set up and shared with bundles of documents used to showcase to the whole arbitral tribunal the documents, instead of everybody having a hard copy, which ultimately just results in lots of trees being cut down. So if we go back to my the start of my career, and in terms of looking at technology, and you know, I remember being on site and I had a Nokia, I think this might be a 3210, around the turn of the millennium, and the construction industry, when I was working in it then, was still filling out pro formas on a carbon copy basis. So you'd get 3 pieces, one would be kept at site, one would go to head office, and one would get handed to the employer's agent on site. And even today, we've got arbitrations ongoing, and we're still seeing that carbon paper pads are still being used at site level. So we've seen this advancement in technology if we look at the phones. And most people on site these days still have a smartphone, which will enable them, using our apps, to keep contemporaneous records. So to us, this is something which the industry has been slow in adopting, but we hope to offer a solution which is affordable and people can start to utilize it. Now, one of the reasons that this is really important is when you go to a lawyer or when you come to a construction consultant like myself, we look at what the contract says. We look at, do people fulfill their obligations in terms of the contract? So if we look at the PAM form of contract, it says that any instruction issued verbally by the architect should be confirmed back. So what we've done is we've provided a tool so that this can actually be done on site in the presence of the architect. So we say, Mr. Architect, do you mind if we just confirm this instruction back to you? We've produced a pro forma document, which you go on your phone. You use drop-down boxes to see, confirm what it is you're doing. You can then write in, you can upload photos, you can upload snapshots or documents from your phone of a drawing or things like that. You can sign it off and then you can send it back to the architect. Now, from a contractor's or subcontractor's point of view, this largely mitigates your risk and transfers the risk back to the architect, so that the architect then has to either accept or deny the record. So we see this as a real great tool for contractors, subcontractors to reduce the risk and manage the contract obligations. Sorry. Okay. So again, this looks at why we need to do this. So at the moment, we can see that we've got people that are writing instructions down. The handwriting might not be able to be legible. It may get lost in due course. At this point in time when a record's being kept, it very often isn't thought about in 12 months time, 18 months time. Oh, I'll need this record. Oh, I won't need this record. People tend to be blasé about keeping the records and hoping that everything will be okay in the end, which, as we keep seeing with the number of cases increasing, often isn't the case. So again, we highly recommend that people keep records as contemporaneous as possible and put the risk onto the other party. At the end of the day, this is what contracts mean in terms of contract administration. So what have we developed? We've developed an effective and efficient method to record data, to encourage more skill sets to record data in the native language. So we offer our app in English, Chinese, and Bahasa. We afford the ability for verbal instructions to be confirmed in writing on the spot while talking to the client or contractor, which transfers the risk. We enable claims authors like myself or like some of the speakers next week. When we get these records, we have to piece them together. We have to build the story to tell the arbitrator or the judge what's happened. How do we do this? We take the records that have been kept at site level and we build a story, a program, costs, and all this information. This is crucial to the success of us being able to produce a winning presentation. And experience tells us that typical records that are required is the project details, when people have visited site, the operatives at site for outputs, site management at site for your prelims, is that as per the original tender? What plant and machinery is being used? What material issues are being encountered at the moment? There's a big issue around price increase of materials, availability. So all these issues should be recorded because down the line, they may be required. Accidents and incidents, obviously we don't want accidents, but when accidents do arise, claims can be made, etc. Where are the records to defend a claim for an accident at the workplace? Progress photos, and then any other remarks which you may do. So how do we take all these records that we need and put them into a app system? So what we've done is we've looked at creating pro formas, which means that we no longer need files of paper. We can do it from site on our mobile phone or even our site van. If this can be used by the single subcontractors or the small subcontractors throughout the industry. So and it is affordable as we will see. Okay, so this is what we've done. We've created pro formas with drop-down boxes, pre-selected drop-down boxes. So again, we're minimizing and mitigating the risk in terms of people not being comfortable writing because of spelling mistakes or we're trying to help, we're trying to provide a tool to facilitate this. And then we do it in Bahasa, the same, and Mandarin. Ultimately, in the event of a dispute in an English jurisdiction, this may need translating, but it'd be far easier for the lawyers to appoint translators to get the records translated and agreed records than it is to not have any records and try and build a case without any records. So this is why we've taken this approach. And we find it very user-friendly, and we've had feedback from the field as well that it is user-friendly. So what do we offer? We offer a daily site diary, a day worksheet in case it's not a typical work, a confirmation of handover, which planners will often use when, that isn't necessarily when the final project's handed over. That can be when a grid line's handed over, when you're a trade following on, when a floor's handed over to you, etc. Because that puts a line in the sand in terms of when the execution of the works can commence. So this is crucial information when you're relying upon somebody trying to build a story to support your claim. Confirmation of verbal instructions. This enables you to get paid for works which you have entitlement to under the contract. And then requests for information. So you can take a picture if there's a clash on site and send it straight from your phone to the architect. Now, unlike other softwares, Oliver's, for example, we don't have a response system or anything like that. Ours is much simpler. It's just a case of putting the record on file, protecting and fulfilling your obligation under the contract. So that's where, these softwares that are available have different nuances and appeals to them. So over the past 18 months has been touched on. I think probably quite a few people have already seen that we've spent 464 plus days now since the pandemic started. And I'm just questioning how many of the contractors and subcontractors out there during this time are still actually keeping contemporaneous records, because certain activities, even during lockdowns, still have to proceed, whether it be security of the site, fogging of the site, etc. So how are you safeguarding and protecting your company in the event of a claim in 12 months during this period of time? And what we'd recommend is downloading the app, having it, because there is a free 30-day trial, and start compiling the records on a daily basis of the things which you're doing, which in due course you may actually want to claim. And these are the kind of things which will get forgotten now. In 12 months' time, when the project runs into problems financially or time driven, all the records will be required. The parties will be sat in front of lawyers, judges, claims consultants, arbitrators, and if they don't have records, the chances of winning any money or time is severely at risk from not being successful. So we strongly encourage, go on www.constructionappsforyou.com, download your free trial, play around with it. If you want to drop me a line, feel free, look me up on LinkedIn, and I'd be more than happy to share or present and have discussions further with you in relation to this. And so I think I haven't rushed, and I've covered all the points that I wish to cover. And so I will now conclude my session. Thank you once again for having me. I hope that's informative, and I'd like to hand back to Stephen. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Nick. Very precise, very simple. And you always reminded what I always ask my project team members: where's your record? Where's your notices? And all those sort of things. Very common, but sad. Sometimes things doesn't happen that way. So it's very important to have records, records, and records. Now, going to our second speaker, Ms. Teo Pui Man. Teo Pui Man is a lawyer, adjudicator, and arbitrator by profession. She is the co-founder and CEO of a construction software company, SpeedBreak. And she's also recently elected as the president of the Lighthouse Club Kuala Lumpur, and is helping the needy, which is very much needed in times of pandemic like this. My second speaker asked a question: will going digital prevent construction disputes? I'm not going to answer for her. I'll leave it to her to answer you. Ms. Teo, please.
Hi, thank you, Stephen. Hi, everyone. I'm the last speaker, so I hope that I have the benefit of time. Actually, when we talk about, you have heard so many speakers from Datuk Seri Panglima David Wong talk so much about digitalizations, going digital, and we talk about disputes. What we actually means by document automations in my sessions. So we have Nick talking about applications, but what really meant, what is actually going digital? Will we prevent disputes, or in the event of disputes, will we actually by going digital, will it help us to win, which is the most important things. And let's talk about how severe is the problem. 44% of the construction contracts end up in disputes. And this afternoon we have Datuk Seri Panglima mentioned that cases of construction disputes are increasing. And in today's time, right, which we are in pandemic right now, guess what? There's just going to be more and more disputes. First thing, you have the EOT issues, you have some many more other issues. And what is actually causing disputes? Why do we fight? 4 main reasons that we fight. First is construction delay. So now is pandemic. So project is delaying. Every time when you demobilize and mobilize, it costs money. Who pays for you? Who pays for this money? Developer will say, no, I am not paying because my house buyer are not paying me. So who is going to pay for construction delays? There are a lot of questions here. And of course, we have a notice requirement under the contract. And second things that we will go into dispute is non-compliance. You sign a contract without reading. Most of the time, subcontractors especially, you sign the contracts without reading because you want the projects, because the time is bad. You want to sign a contract. You think that you can take the risk. I have my clients, most of my clients are main contractors or going listing or listed. Some of them actually have to sign LAD of 200 million a day. That figure is crazy, but they still have to take it. They say, no choice, I got a lot of overhead, I have to take this risk and sail it through. So what happens when there's non-compliance? Okay, dispute happens. And of course, most of the time we fight because of money. Construction contractors or developers is all doing business. It's a money business. We fight about quantity. We fight about rate. We also fight about VO. Is this equivalent to VO or not? So let's talk about, but why do we fight? You see, the issues here is, right, from the morning until now, we are just talking about communications. Nick show you about RFI, CVI, and then, you communicate with different parties. When we talk about external communications, right, there is a communication breakdown between all these parties. These parties are not communicating on one single platform. The best software that we are using to monitor our project now, guess what? WhatsApp. We use WhatsApp group to monitor our project progress. No matter how changyu you think you are, you open up your phone, there's going to be 10 or 20 WhatsApp groups. That's the minimum of your construction projects. Okay, so how do we communicate? Certain communications in construction is very important. We have a RFI, a CVI. What the situation right now is that subcontractors will write an RFI to the subcontractors, where the subcontractor will then submit the same to the main contractors. The main contractors will then have to submit it to the consultants, and then record when missing. Simple as that, record when missing. And I'm not going to go into details, but these are all issues that we have to address. When we talk about technology, we are just addressing issues of how do we communicate. There's a simple breakdown. Okay, just now we look at external breakdown. Do you know that even internally as a construction companies, we can't talk to each other. We can't communicate with each other. We have issues talking between site and office. construction office always will blame site, especially in material management. Because when we talk about dispute happens is because of, internally it's because of money. Do I overbuy my material? How do I monitor my subcontractors? How do I communicate with my subcontractors? So we have issues where internally, different departments between internal company cannot communicate with each other. For instance, how do you buy material today? Today, after your site people order the material, is it approved? Before it's approved, do you know whether it's within or exceeded your budget? If let's say it's already exceeded your budget, do you allow this material to be delivered to your site or not? Because your site people will forever tell you, you don't buy the material for me, later LAD, not my problem. So there's this pull and push between internal companies. And of course, how do you communicate with your subcon? Are they doing the work done correctly, causing you in terms of your contract, as well as the quantity of your subcontractors' work done? Is it the same as your own work done? So these are a lot of, we call it an internal communication silo. So in the end of the day, right, we fight because of trust. We have conflicting records between stakeholders. The current process that we are having right now is very manual. There's very, very little trust between different stakeholders. Here is how technology can help you. Just now, Dato' Sri Panglima mentioned about available technology in the market, including big data, AI, machine learning, robotics. All these technologies that I've listed here, right, is helping us to do only one thing, which is helping us to connect. We are connecting all the stakeholders onto one single platform in hope that these parties will be able to make data-driven decisions at the right time, at the right place, because in hope of doing this, we will be able to avoid disputes completely. Okay, but then again, how? The question is not, everyone understands these things, but how? Technologies will help you collect data without manipulations. Just look at some of the available technologies in the market. Yeah. So this is where you put on your helmet with a camera. When your construction site workers work at the site, right, they are automatically collecting the photos, the pictures, which will in turn map it into your construction drawings, and then it will link back into your calculations as well. So these are some of the technologies that we are looking available for external communications. You forget about your subcontractors or contractors or consultants. There's no manipulations when you are doing these data collections, because it's done automatically and it's happy to map back to your drawing automatically. And another one that we have is this one. This is what we know as many of you may have seen this. This is a robot. Okay, robot is very fun. We talk about document automations, right? So when we have a robot like this walking around sites, right, they are basically, instead of putting a helmet with camera, right, they are collecting data with or without you. They will automatically collect the data without you telling the robot, hey, this is where I want you to go, there is where I want you to go. They are able to identify these informations and map it back into your software and tell you what are the risks that you are actually facing. And with these informations, right, you are able to capture the differences and you are able to calculate quantities, because quantities is automatically calculated by the technology without you doing calculations and argue with your consultant. Hey, no, this is the quantity. Hey, that is the quantity. So this is actually what we have in terms of what technology can help. So that is external technologies. So let's look at internal communications. Internally, right, we communicate internally in order to run projects. Our contractors need to be able to make sure 6 departments work together, from your contract departments, the moment you get your projects, from your project departments, as well as your procurement departments, and then of course your site uncle, So as directors, right, how do you know your projects are at risk? Most of my clients tell me, Pooima, I just need to look at reports. I want to look at reports. The reports that I want to see can tell me whether my project is doing well. Then I ask, how do you know whether you're doing well? Oh, I just look at my money. So how much I claim, as compared to how much is being certified and as compared to how much is being paid. So this sort of reports will help you in knowing whether your project is at risk or not. You see, when this kind of reports, right, when we talk about this kind of drawing, right, Excel can give you these informations, but in order for Excel to give you these informations, you require human to put in the informations. That is the problem, because human is always very busy. Humans can manipulate the data. So what happens here is that you can have a technology that automatically map workflow into your company. For instance, when you want to issue subcon certificates to your subcontractors, they must use the software to issue the subcon cert. When they use the software to issue the subcon cert, automatically you know that the data you read is 100% accurate. It's 100% accurate because you can drill down into the information, hey, what's going on? And this drill down will allow you to always go back into the informations of how your people issue this payment. And in the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to, this data here, right, is automatically generated by technology without your people spending time to do it. And the best part is, in the event, of course, we hope to avoid disputes. But in the event, if we are having disputes, what is the ultimate goal for a construction company? Of course, win dispute. You know, you want to win. So how do you win? It's when you are able to quickly organize all your data with one click. So, by the way, do you guys know that you all have to pay lawyers to organize your data for you? And lawyers' fees are not cheap. So use technology to do it for you. And the best thing is that all your organized records, right, have to be on one platform, and you can access it anytime, anywhere, whenever you have disputes. So just one click, you just tell, hey, Mr. Lawyer, here is the link of all my construction documents. Here you go. Please help me to win the cases. And guess what? The chances of winning is going to be high. And one thing I need to emphasize is that data manipulations, I wouldn't call it data manipulations, but there is a conflicting data in construction industry. That's the reason why we fight. We go to court. We have to prove to the judge, my versions of records is correct. And then the other party said, no, you see, there's a signature over here. When you have two conflicting records, right, disputes, this is where we fight. So we need a third party to determine, oh, this one looks a little bit more genuine than this one. But if you use technology to help you automatically compile the records and automatically collect the data, which help you to analyze the data automatically, there really is just one record. We are looking about just one record. So just to summarize, in order for you to get a trustworthy data, you want to collect the data during workflow, or you can use machine. Of course, that's a bit changil, but internally, you would be able to utilize technology to help you collect data as part of your workflow. For instance, it is a workflow in your company to respond RFI with the tool. Then that become a workflow. There's no manipulations anymore. And then analyze it. This is usually your technical tools will help you to analyze it. And then when there's issues, you can address it firsthand. And I think that when we talk about winning disputes, of course, with technology, we will help you to win disputes. But of course, why would we want to go into dispute in the first place? Going digital should actually help you to avoid disputes completely. But then again, we are human. Human actually fights a lot. So back to you, Stephen. That's all from me.
Thank you, everyone. Just to follow up with what you just said, going to dispute is definitely a lose-lose game. And it's only
you need to pay money to the lawyers. Lawyers are the one winning.
Yeah, so yeah, good. It's good for you, but it's bad for the contractors. Okay, just a question here. I appreciate what Nick and you yourself have said about this document automation. How about the way to keep records, which are very important to prevent dispute and to aid in any dispute resolution process. Now, the thing is that does our current internet connectivity nowadays, even today, allows this digital implementation? Your views, please.
Having internet issues is an infrastructure issues. Our country is talking about let's go digital, but the infrastructure is like shit. So with or without internet, right? Depending on the solutions you choose. If you are choosing, for instance, drone solutions, AI technology solutions, you don't need internet when you are setting up in your construction sites, because they rely on a Bluetooth, and actually they rely on the 3G on your mobile phone. So those who need internet connections, right? With or without you going digital, your communications is really going to be in a breakdown scenario when your construction sites don't have internet. So for construction sites that don't have internet, the way for you to go digital, step one is get a specialist to help you to set up and improve the internet connectivity first. And of course, there are also solutions out there that can actually help you go. They have something called the offline mode for technologies. For instance, you can use, you can actually do everything on the software on your mobile. When you exit the site, where you go to a place with internet connections, then it will automatically sync to the cloud. So this is another option. So I think in terms of internet, we do have to really look into that with the government. Thanks, Stephen.
Nicholas, anything to add?
Yeah, I think actually Pui Mun's doing a disservice there to Malaysia, because coming from the UK and seeing the speeds of downloads that we get in the UK v what we get in Malaysia, you know, 100 gigabyte in the UK is kind of high, whereas here in Malaysia, you know, there's 1,000 gig available. Now, obviously, it's subject to areas and things like that. So I agree with Pui Mun in terms of, you know, if you're, but we've got to also appreciate how many projects are in areas where it isn't, where it is a problem. And we shouldn't let the few where it becomes a problem discourage the rest of the industry. For example, in Kuala Lumpur, in starting to digitize and use smartphones and keeping the records. So I think that we have to look at the big picture and get as many people doing it as possible. And if there is, we can't look at the isolated incidents. So we have to look at the big picture and the numbers that we can do just within.
Yep. Yeah, getting as many people to use it and to achieve maybe like herd immunity.
Yes, correct. Absolutely. Great analogy at this point in time.
Okay, good. We have a question here. You can have the best software to manage the documents. What if the main contractor still refuses to pay? I think the problem is not on the software or technology, but the mindset of the Malaysian construction industry. What do the panelists think of this?
Okay, Nick, if you don't mind, this is my favorite questions.
Sure.
Okay, so if you go digital, or whoever go digital, the best thing about it is that when do you catch that your clients are not paying you? Without technology, right, your people are going to hide information from you. And the moment you know that your client haven't paid you, it's already too late. You are already completing or you're already finishing your projects. But with going digital, right, you know the moment how many days your client did not pay you. 30 days due date, right? 30 days due date, you send first reminder. Did you even know whether your people send reminders to your clients? So when 3 payments didn't pay you, guess what? If you have these informations, as a very reputable and experienced contractors, what would you do? The issue now is you don't have the information that tell you this, which allow you to use data to go and talk to your client. Going digital will not prevent your client from paying you. You not make them pay you faster, but you have the information to go and chase them faster. That's my take.
Yeah, I echo what Pui Mun's saying, and also, again, I would see what the construction industry is doing to help facilitate this. by way of introducing the Adjudication Act. And while some contractors are not aware of adjudication as well as they should be, you know, it is there to be used. And subcontractors or contractors start using it to its benefit, and also winning these cases because they've got the best records from using things like the construction apps for you, then it'll improve the, you know, it'll change the mindset itself. So we have to start at the grassroots in terms of changing it by making the contractors fear non-payment. And the Adjudication Act does that and facilitates prompt to payment, but there's no point in going to adjudication if you don't have the records. So you have to understand what the contract says in terms of payments, and then you need your reminders like Pui Mun says, and then you can take it from there. So these are small stages, but this is where Malaysia is trying. You know, L2 is pushing this, you know, hugely with great panels of speakers, and so we should all embrace this and start keeping records, and then maybe we will see payments made in accordance with the contract. So we can change the mentality.
There's another question here.
It's not a question, I think.
Oh, a
I think
comment.
it's referring to me, James. So why are you criticizing the lawyers? If most contractors use lawyers from the onset advising you on risk issues, the contractor will understand its obligation and rights better. Definitely. Definitely. Not criticizing the lawyers. The lawyers are helpless being cases. They are very important. I'm also a lawyer myself, by the way.
Yeah,
and the records will help the lawyers.
Yes, yes.
Exactly. I think I echo. You know, the lawyers. I think everybody that's involved with this all has a common goal, which is to improve the industry. And like James has alluded to in his question, that the various parties, when it comes to disputes and everything, can all learn, collaborate together to improve the industry. And I don't think anybody's, you know, kind of the opinion that, oh, we just want to do this because we can make money from it. Everybody wants to improve the industry for the good of the industry, the economy and everything else, and give back. Lawyers, as James has put here, would still benefit from being engaged at the outset of a project, as we encourage ourselves as claims consultants to be appointed and engaged from the outset to mitigate the risks and prevent the claims. And there's, you know, so it's a different approach or a different mindset and mentality. But I think there's certainly enough opportunities for everybody to pull together and push for betterment in the industry, whether that be lawyers, claims consultants, software providers, etc. So I think that that's important to realize. But, you know, people shouldn't be scared to ask questions. And I always, even if it's the subcontractors, you know, often they're overlooked because they don't have the big resources. They don't have a lot of money, you know, to invest. Our app is available. It basically costs less than a cup of coffee a day. It's a ringgit a day for a year subscription. You know, so it's not a lot of money. People can download it, and then if that'd pay for itself multiple times over. If you go, you know, speak to a lawyer, take him your records. Can you do me an adjudication? Show him your records. Of course we can, no problem. And we stand a very good chance of winning this. You know, so then you get your money back. You get your money back multiple times. So it's sometimes starting off low, which is what our app is aiming to do.
Nick, you have led me to a very important area, and that's investment. Investment can come in two forms. One is investment in the human capital, how to use your automation, your apps, and those sort of things. And the other is the financial outlay. How do you balance the two? Or you need both of them immediately?
No, I think that when we tried to develop the app, we've tried to produce something that's simple, not complicated, and that most people would be able to pick up on it. That's why we've used the drop-down boxes, the pre-populated drop-down boxes. And So I don't think, and obviously we're offering it at what we perceive to be a very affordable amount. So we think that we're trying to give back the best that we can in giving us an easy solution which balances both initial investment and also training. And obviously, as we touched upon during our presentation, the different languages, which we feel is important in such a multicultural country like Malaysia.
Priman, anything to add to that?
I think money investment, it depends on who you ask. So it depends on the companies, whether you view technology as expenses or investment. If you think it is an expenses, definitely you want to keep it as low as possible. If you treat it as an investment, it then depends on your return of investment, because the more you spend, it is an investment, you are supposed to get more return, right? So it depends on how you see technology, and also depends on the stage of your company. Are you at the growth stage, or you want to retire already? You know. So depending on where you are, the amount of money that you spend is going to be different. So then the question is, are you ready to invest? Which is the earlier sessions, I think, has already addressed that.
Yeah, and the COVID-19, I think, expedited everything.
Yes, definitely. So COVID is helping. Yeah.
Another question here is that in document automation, how are record keeping streamlined? Or how do you view it in the bigger picture? It's just that one site may have just say like a site diary of materials coming in and out. Then the operations, how do they interlink with one another? And how, like, for example, the QS to issue a notice, there is a variation. How do you holistically look at it and how to integrate it? Any comment on that?
Nick, you want to go first?
Sure, thanks, Priman. So I think that what's important is that I think Oliver said there's no one solution that will fit all scenarios. And I think that what we're trying to do is get a mindset where change is required, and also how it can help. And the small steps in terms of, that becomes a secondary thing for me, in terms of the first step is to keep the records. What then happens with the records becomes part of the training and everything else. But having people that keep the records is the first stage. So people embracing in terms of getting the records, starting keeping the records digitally, is the first step in the line of communication. Thereafter, the other things will follow as people become more accustomed to keeping the records and distributing and the benefit of the records. They'll, you know, we have to learn to crawl before we can walk. We have to walk before we can run. And this is the stage which I foresee that the construction industry at certain levels is still at, with the keeping of paper records. So we've got to start there and work our way up. And that's how I would envisage or answer that.
I'm going to play the devil of advocates here. I think in terms of how do we communicate with different stakeholders is basically an ecosystem. Construction stakeholders are actually in an ecosystem where we all focus on the project life cycles. So we're talking from planning to design to constructions. We need one solutions that can talk to each other. There's no one solutions for everyone, because everyone needs different things. For instance, a developer will need something more than the contractors. But what we should be focusing here is we need internal solutions that communicate within internal departments. We also need these internal solutions that can communicate with an external solutions. So what happens here is we should be focusing on, before I mention the solutions, the real problems here is we have a lot of fragmented and siloed technologies that are not talking to each other. Technologies partners, right, whoever is listening, we should actually come together to build the integrations that allow technologies to speak to each others. Because technologies partners, right, like for instance in SpeedBreak, we focus on constructions, but we will never be able to understand architects as well as a solutions provider that's providing solutions for architect. But architect do need to communicate with contractors. So each of us as a technology partners, we need to focus on building deep technologies we need to be innovating in our own solutions, and then we have to be able to connect, integrate, and create a bridge between solutions which allow the flow of data from one end to another point. So today there are already many of solutions that can do that. Like for instance, in SpeedBreak, we actually integrate with other solutions like Proficience. And sooner or later, we are going to link it with Nick's app as well. So this, by having technologies can speak to each other, we can achieve a breakdown in silo of communications. Back to you, Stephen.
Oh, thank you. There's one more question. I think this is the last question that we can take. The government and all companies should start accept e-documents and e-signatures. Hard copy is yesteryear. Any comment?
Okay, so
I think they already did. Yeah.
I think okay, so this is where I would discuss such things with panelists and lawyers and things like that, because actually I was doing a contract review recently, and what they'd done was they added in a new clause upon the end at the end of the contract, so effectively an addendum to the standard form of contract, and they said that e-signatures were authorized and permitted under the contract. So I think that what we would need to do is get together with the lawyers, sit and see whether amendments can be made to the standard forms, and or how we go about embodying them into the contracts before they're signed. So, you know, it again echoes James Monterio's comment to say, look guys, speak to the lawyers, understand the risks, etc. Because he could say, we need to insert this clause, which then says, you know, if you issue an email to us, if you serve this over that, and it goes into the contract, then it's a case of the parties reading the contract, yeah? Unlike what Premun said, where people don't read the contract, people should read the contract and understand their obligations there too. Because the sad thing is technology suppliers can give as much as they want and give as many tools. But if people aren't even prepared to read the contract, where they're signing up to millions and millions of ringgits, pounds, dollars, any other currency, you know, it's a very and worrying situation. So we have to, you know, understand that. So I think there's a lot of work. There's some great tools, great collaboration going on, great opportunities for everybody to promote these kind of thoughts. And before I just say the last thing, I'd like to thank L2Icon, all the sponsors and everything for organizing this, all the team that goes on behind, all the work that goes on behind the scenes. So big thumbs up from me. Thank you all.
Thank you, Nicholas.
I'm back to Stephen.
Premun, anything to add before we close the session here?
I think in terms of documents, it all depends on the Evidence Act. Most of the evidence is because when we talk about documentations to be acceptable in court, it needs to be fulfill certain criteria. These lawyers will which I would invite participants to join us next week to understand this answer a little bit more, because it's going to be talks by judges, you know, by very famous lawyers, which I am nothing. So let's understand these questions more next week.
Wow, that's a marathon, man. Next week. Okay, I think we have come to the end of the session because time is not permitting. Maybe as a closing, I would say that some of us have embraced digital technology for record keeping a long time back. Some have not started, some have just started, or whatever is it. I think the objective is to achieve greater efficiency in terms of record keeping and retrieval. At whatever stage we are, I wish you a happy and an ease mindset. Thank you. Back to you, Aslan.
Okay, thank you so much, Stephen, Nick, and Premun for sharing. So we all know that master builders have been playing an important role in the development and advancement of the Malaysian construction industry. We are sure that they have a crucial role to play for the positive development of contact in Malaysia. We therefore are truly honored to have Mr. Oliver Wee, the Deputy President of Master Builders, to deliver the closing remarks for Contact Talk 2021.
Good day. Tan Sri Dato Sri Panglima David Wong, our keynote speaker, Architect Anthony Lee, Mr. Stephen Shi, the moderators, distinguished guests and speakers, ladies and gentlemen. First, I would like to express my appreciation to the organizers of Contact Talk 2021, namely Legal Plus and L2 Icon, for inviting me to deliver the closing remarks for Contact Talk 2021. I wish that the overall knowledge from this event will contribute to the continued enhancement of the digitalization initiative in these countries. I'm sure with this session, we can see the importance of digital transformation for the construction industry, including better documentation process, able to avoid necessary dispute, save costs and increase productivity. Of course, there will also be continued emphasis on Industry Revolution 4.0 related processes, and increased big data analysis for the building and construction industry, seamless data flow and integrated systems that are essential in any future scenario. Furthermore, the use of building information modeling software will increase, along with alternate project delivery methods and lean construction practices that will improve the efficiency of the building design process and throughout the efficiently planned life cycle of the building. The COVID-19 pandemic has escalated the digitalization process, but this is just the beginning. It requires a strong ecosystem to facilitate the growth and development of contact company. And thus it is encouraging to see local contact company who are driving, such as Speedbrick and Claudon Malaysia, just to name a few. Perhaps one of the key to successful digitalization is to get strong and reliable contact partner. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that the talk today will result in commitments and exchange of ideas, which attendees can take home to his or her individual organization for further follow through. I hope you have learned tremendously from this session. I would like to thank all the moderators and speakers today for their valuable contribution and commitment. I'm confident that the knowledge gained will serve as an impetus towards the continued enhancement of the digitalization initiative in this country, and the fruit of this discussion will result in practical solutions that will help the country progress further up the path of construction excellence. On that note, I'm pleased to declare the Contact 2021 officially closed. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Oliver. And this brings the end of today's event. But before we end, I would like to announce that the Contact Talk 2021 has been a successful event. I've been informed by the production team that at peak, there are 1,700 live viewers. Wow, congratulations, teams. So on behalf of the organizing team, I thanks to all supports and everyone involved. I wish we had more time, but we have come to the end of Contact Talk 2021. So if you have found today's talk to be enlightening, then I want to strongly encourage you to sign up for our first of its kind 12-hour construction claims and EDR conference on July 23rd from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Malaysia time. We are also aiming to set a new record in the Malaysia Book of Records for the longest non-stop virtual construction and EDR conference, and you could be a part of it too. Yeah, registration is still open. Follow our LinkedIn and Facebook pages for more information and updates about our conference. Once again, thank you everyone for joining today. Have a lovely weekend. Assalamualaikum. Bye-bye.